Well, that wraps up WWDC for me here. And I got to tell you, this has been a very eye-opening trip. You know, I think people have been saying for a while now that Apple is behind when it comes to AI and the battle of AI and putting it into their operating systems respectively. But after this WWDC, I disagree. The reality of it is the average person doesn't understand AI like people who live in this space. They just don't. They don't understand how to use prompts the way to use it in ChatGPT or Gemini or Grok or Perplexity. They don't know how to do those things, right? They just know simple ways of using AI. And Apple, I think, gets that. And I think what we saw this year with the convergence of iOS 26, macOS 26, Vision OS 26, iPad OS 26, the continuity, all these things is that we're seeing Apple understand the average person and giving them tools that's gonna make their workflow better, get them off the device to have a life. And so I realized this about Apple. Apple Intelligence isn't about just AI. It's about making your device smart enough so you don't need to be buried into it. And that's what I want to talk about today, especially with iOS 26, Mac OS 26, iPad OS 26, and of course, I'll do a separate video on Vision OS 26 because that is absolutely amazing. The biggest takeaway is that Vision OS has been a big proponent to what we're seeing come through to our iPhones, our iPads, and our Macs respectively. That design, that UI design that we're seeing in Vision OS has really come into this, and it's beautiful and it's gorgeous. And if you've never tried Apple Vision Pro, I know it's an expensive device. It's not for everybody out there, but there's something very special about it. And the way that you interact with it, you're seeing that design language, that organic sort of inviting way that you want to interact with your device. You're seeing that come into the respective devices, and that's what WWDC was all about. So let's first talk a little about iOS 26. Now, this has been sort of a redesign. Obviously, we saw liquid glass, which is sort of the big thing. It's sort of this glassy effect that you're going to see throughout the UI. And it's beautiful. It's very, very nuanced. And it's something that I don't think photos or videos, we try to capture it as best as we can, but you actually have to interact with it and use it to see how well Apple's done with this. From the way the glass reflects when it hits certain lights, from the background to the foreground of your elements that you're interacting with, it's absolutely gorgeous. And you have to give their design team and their engineering team a lot of credit. They have done a phenomenal job. And by the way, this is a developer beta 1. Okay, so people are complaining about it right now. It's like, guys, it's not going to be due for public release until fall. There's going to be a lot of tweaks. They're going to change the way the transparency happens or frosted, whatever it's going to be. They're going to change so much to it. But it's absolutely beautiful. Some of the big standouts for me in iOS 26, obviously I love photography, is the camera app. It is much more refined. It's easier to access your video formats, your photo formats. If you want to shoot in RAW or JPEG, what megapixel you want to shoot, if you want to shoot in 4K, 1080, if you want to shoot in 4K 60, you can ProRes for that matter. It's so easy to get your settings down. Before, it was submenu and submenu. Now it's one tap, you're there, one tap, you're there. Kind of going back to that Steve Jobs ethos of one tap to get where you need to go. That's what they've done with iOS 26, especially when it comes to the camera app. Now, obviously we've got, better continuity inside of this. We've got better file management inside of this. Then of course, Apple Visual Intelligence, which is really cool. Now we've seen this sort of on other devices in the marketplace, but the way they've implemented it is really nice. Take a screenshot, circle it, or just allow the device to see the item, or just can color it in with your finger. That part glows. Google search pops up, or image search pops up, and there's your item. So you can tag it to Etsy. You can work with different providers out there. There's a lot of cool things that are coming into this that are really, really awesome to, again, help you get to where you need to be and then get off your device and live life. That's what Apple is doing with this. It is awesome. Let's talk about iPad OS 26. I think this is probably one of the biggest things that everybody has really come to appreciate and they've been wanting. Multitasking is now on the iPad. It's essentially like Mac OS, okay? Apple's not going to tell you that, but it's essentially like Mac OS. You have better file management. You have preview inside of this. You have a drop-down menu from the top, which is very reminiscent of Mac OS. The way that you organize your windows is great. You can flick them around. You can organize them as you want. You can spread them out. It is gorgeous. It's intuitive. It's awesome. I can't wait to download the developer beta on my iPad to try this out. Fortunately, I didn't bring my iPad with me here for this trip. I brought my MacBook Pro and I brought my phone, of course, and cameras, but not the iPad, but I cannot wait. It is so intuitive and so easy. It's really going to push the iPad to be much more of a multitasking tool. And for a lot of you out there, the iPad may be all that you need. And with iOS26, they've definitely made that happen. All right, let's talk about macOS26. What are some of the features? Spotlight and shortcuts. I mean, again, the UI design changed. We saw in iOS 26 for the iPhone, and iPadOS 26 has carried over into macOS 26. But the Spotlight, the way that you search for things, the way that you can interact with it, where you can send messages through Spotlight, and shortcuts, the way that you can interact, it's really fine-tuned. It is so much better. Again, I have to spend more time with this. When we're here, we're seeing demonstrations, and these demonstrations have been worked, you got to give a hand to the team here in Apple. They've really worked through these demonstrations to make them as fluid as possible. But to really put them in a day-to-day task is something that I'm excited to try. But it just, again, makes daily tasks easier to do. You have a better Finder management system here, so you can label your colors of folders and so forth. Now, yes, we've seen this before in other operating systems. It's nothing new, but it's new to Mac. And yes, you'll get the tech bros saying, yes, but
Windows has had that, or yada, yada, yada. They've had that before.
Yes, but Apple hasn't. And that's what's important, is that they are now bringing in these features that are going to make organization easier. They're going to make file management easier. And shortcuts has gone on steroids. It is fantastic. Now, again, the one thing I wish shortcuts was, when you set up your shortcuts, you have to give it commands, right? I wish it was a little bit more in layman's terms, where Apple Intelligence sort of kicked in, where you could just write out a sentence and then Apple Intelligence would figure it out and make your shortcut that way. It's not quite there yet. Maybe, again, this will improve over time. It is a developer beta, but I would say it has improved over what shortcuts was previously, because I never really used it because I just found it to be too confusing, a little bit too much, but they've done a great job with it this time, and Spotlight as well. I mean, Spotlight was kind of the search bar that you would find things, but the way they've implemented it now, you can send messages and emails through Spotlight. Absolutely awesome. And it actually kind of knows what you're doing as you're doing things, as it gets to know you more. That's where Apple Intelligence comes into play. We got to talk about Image Playground, right? Image Playground has got some upgrades to it, and it's also integrated with ChatGPT now. So you're not just getting illustrations or cartoon effects. You can actually get images done up by ChatGPT. Now, it's going to be slower. If you ever tried using ChatGPT to generate images, it is slower than what Apple's doing on board. But again, your privacy is secure. Your information is secure. They're only sending information to ChatGPT to generate that image, bring it back down, and that's it, if you're worried about those things. Personally, for me, I've just sort of given up and saying, hey, look, AI has to know something about you to learn. It is what it is. I'm okay with that, but I know everybody out there may have different privacy concerns. But ChatGPT is more integrated with Apple Intelligence, and it's really intuitive, and it's very fluid. Also, we got to talk about Mixmoji. Now, Genmoji, not like Image Playground, which can be a little bit confusing for people, because some people are like, Genmoji and Image Playground, aren't they kind of the same? Where Image Playground, you can create these graphics to put into your documents. You can send it over to people. You can use your face and other people's faces and elements and make that happen. Mixmoji is kind of taking two emojis and merging them into one. And the way that they do it is really cool, because it's intuitive. And this is going to be something I think a lot of people will use more often than maybe Genmoji. I kind of feel Genmoji, it's a bit, how do I say this? I appreciate it, I understand it, but I feel Mixmoji, the way that you can do this, again, taking two emojis, especially if, let's say, you want to do like an owl thanking somebody, or a guy in a cowboy hat with a thumbs up, you can do that now. It's much easier. It's these small things when you're doing messages where this all kind of comes in. These are fun things. And these are things that get people to go, oh, that's cute, that's fun, how did you do that? And it gets you interacting and chatting about tech in a really cool and fun way. By the way, we watched F1 in the Steve Jobs Theater. Amazing. We couldn't take any photos, unfortunately, but it was absolutely cool. But I digress. These last few days, as I mentioned earlier in this video, being at WWDC, I understand where Apple's going with this. And it's not the battle of AI in the sense of what we think about as, Apple versus Google versus ChatGPT versus X with Grok or Perplexity or DeepSeek. It's not that. Apple's not in that game to battle them. Apple wants to take all of that and give it to you in a very simple and intuitive way. And that's what AI should be. And that's what Apple's doing. And so for those who want to say, is Apple winning the AI war or the battle? They know how to get everybody to come together and bring you along with them. So if that's the case, maybe they're winning. Anyway, guys, those are my thoughts on WWDC, iOS 26, macOS 26, iPadOS 26. And of course, I got a separate video coming on Vision OS 26, which is amazing. Anyway, guys, if you like this video, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. Thank you guys so much for your support. I greatly appreciate it. And I'll chat to you all very, very soon.